My first stop for Brandy was to catch up with Thomas from Cognac Hennessy.
Well, wine was produced by all the European countries, and for a matter of conservation and also a matter of commercial issues, the Dutch started to distill the wines in order that they could travel. And then the cognac area in the 20th and 13th century was very famous for the salt. And so the Dutch coming here was buying salt, buying wine also, you know. And then they started to distill the wine, as I said. And from that moment, they create also the way to drink cognac and the way to drink brandy. Because when disembarking the distilled spirits, the distilled wine, they were filling up with water to come back to wine. The Cognac region is, as you can see, a region that goes up. Here we're at the highest point of the Cognac area, so we are about 350 meters. And that's a very interesting point for two big reasons. We can see two different topography from here. Those two different topography that are here, you see one flat area that is just in front of us, just here. And now you can see this much more hilly situation here of the region. So those two areas that we just can see at sightseeing give us a good feeling about the different areas that exist in the cognac industry and in the cognac region, and how the different regions, even inside one single region, can affect the different wines and will affect the different spirits that will produce on it. So that's quite what you can see. It in a small size here will be exactly the same for overall region of brandy production at the brandy level. We are not far from the ocean, so about 63 kilometers from the ocean. It's just over there. And this ocean brings us quite a lot of cool air during all the year and helps not to have a lot of differences of temperature between winters and summers. So that's quite very important because the vines do not suffer too much from very cold moments in the year and very hot moments. So that's very important. But also those wind goes up through the ocean, brings a lot of humidity, and this helps to bring water into the vineyard. And that's already a big difference between the brandy and the wines producing areas, if you allowed or not allowed to irrigate. And so that's very, very important. Here in the cognac industry, we're not allowed to irrigate. So all this humidity that comes from the ocean helps to bring water to the vines, and this is very important. The more we go inside the region and we go in center of France, where you will go probably tomorrow, and we have in this place a much more continental type of climate, and then very differences of temperature between winters and summer. And so all the part of the vineyards that is over there will have a different character than had it drier also than we have. And also we are already in southwest of France, and we are not very far from the Mediterranean area. Perpignan is just about 400 kilometers. So, and this influence also us by very dry weather at certain point of the year, like today.
Right. The wine itself, like, what would you compare that to if you were just talking about it as a wine before distillation?
Okay, the wine is very, for us it's not a wine to drink, it's a distillation wine. So we look for distillation wine, and that's one of the big differences also between brandies. Is that all the main areas around the world, they produce some wine that is drinkable, that you can drink, and part of it they distill and create the brandy and goes on. Here in Cognac, we think from the beginning of create the best wine for distillation, so we create a distillation wine. This distillation wine is for us a light wine, 8-10% of alcohol just. and it's very acidic to keep it fresh, so it's very important. Not too aromatic, because we're not here to create perfume, but cognacs. And that's mainly the three big characteristics that we're looking for this wine, and to be white, of course.
Thomas then took us through the cellaring process. From here it was on to a few tips on tasting, and then a drive south to a close relation of cognac, Armagnac.
Tasting is, nose level is the same as for wine. One fixed nose, one we bring air in the glass to bring more flavors. As for wine, we have 4 families of flavors in the cognac: the spicy family of flavors, the woody family of flavors, the fruity family of flavor, and the floral family of flavor. Then at palate level, it's very different from wine. We put a small quantity in the mouth. We churn it quite quickly in the mouth. Don't stay a long time with it, and then you spit. Okay. We use the tulip glass for professional tasting. We don't use the big ballon glass that everybody, the snifter, that everybody knows. For one reason, it's I don't have a snifter here. But if you have the opportunity to see that, you'll see that the snifter is wide open and it's very concentrated and can be aggressive smell. And with the tulip, it's the smell is lighter and you don't get that heat from the alcohol also.
Condom, like most places in France, has a rich history. It's part of the Gascony area, and on one hand we have Toulouse, home of the European Space Agency, most advanced technology, and on the other hand you have very old buildings dating back to medieval times, and in the area even Roman aqueducts from nearly 2,000 years ago. The Musée de l'Armagnac in Condom is dedicated to the history and culture of Armagnac and its production. And yes, you did hear the name right, Condom. It doesn't mean what it means to us in English. The French don't use the term, so of course it's a good joke for English people. But would you believe that the French term is actually English helmet? So there you go. So what exactly is Armagnac? Well, like its bigger brother cognac, it is distilled spirit from white wine grapes. The essential difference though is that Armagnac is only distilled once, whereas cognac is distilled twice. And for this reason, the Armagnac is aged for a longer period of time in the black oak from the local area that they use for the casks. Now, Armagnac is less well known than cognac, but connoisseurs who do know it appreciate it for its more complex and subtle flavours. And as someone once said, there's a hint of romanticism about Armagnac. It is part of the world of Gascony, the same area which gave rise to the literary adventures of the Three Musketeers, which has captured the imagination of generations, even outside of France. Standing next to one of the barrel winches, or cask winches, in the Jeannot facility. This is one of the best known brands of Armagnac. And Armagnac is actually France's oldest spirit. It was being distilled 200 years before cognac. Well, cognac, of course, is much more well known now. In fact, they say for every 100 bottles of cognac sold, only 6 of Armagnac are sold. But the distillation of white wine grapes was brought about thanks to the Romans, who first brought the white wine to France, and then later on thanks to the Moors, who brought the process of distillation with them.
Vieux 1950,
Yeah.
1942.
Yeah. Coming down here is a bit like travelling through time. This is 1872. What do you believe? It's about as old as the Treaty of Waitangi. Be very careful. And here's another one from the 1900, the turn of the last century. I suspect the label is newer than that.
Kenneth from Jeannot explained how the alembics are used for the distillation of wine. By this stage on the trip, I considered myself fairly knowledgeable about the process of distillation. Although the learning never stops, there were new techniques and terms specific to brandy that I had not experienced elsewhere.
Thank you.